As a busy mother of monsters to many manly meatheads and humongous Herculean horrors, I often have to scare up many delicious meals with only a moment's notice, and that's why I love HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com/50brothers and use code 50brothers for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50brothers and use code 50brothers for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Welcome back to Creatures of the Night, Uglies. As always, we are your queens of darkness, the Boulet Brothers Dragula
and Swanthula.
And we will be your ghost hosts this week, leading you through all the horror headlines in the worlds of drag, horror, and Halloween.
So perfect. And speaking of horror, drag, and Halloween, even though we didn't do this one in drag, we ventured out to Universal Horror Nights since the last podcast.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't live in Los Angeles or Florida and don't know what the hell we're talking about, there are huge Halloween horror sort of theme nights where they build out all these haunted house mazes and things like that. And Universal tends to be one of the bigger ones.
Absolutely. And it brings everything that Universal brings to their movies, which is just a high level of production, costuming, storytelling. Like it's a different kind of thing.
Mostly based on IPs, right? So
yes.
For instance, this year they had The Last of Us maze. Mm-hmm. They had a maze based on Chucky.
Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. Some lesser known Universal monsters like the Invisible Man and
Hunchback of Notre Dame was there.
A Phantom of the Opera, I'm also thinking
exactly.
of, yeah.
So we wanted to do a quick review of Universal for those of you that haven't been yet this year, because we did a review of Knott's, which was fantastic, and I feel like we always do both of them usually every year. So just to make it kind of quick, I was not thrilled with my experience at Universal this year.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I remember last year we kind of pitted them against each other because, that's what we do, and we judge. And last year, Knott's took the cake.
Yeah.
And you know what? She has defended her title.
Yeah.
Because Universal just really fell short for me. After I left the next day, I was like, did I like any of the mazes? Is there one that I even really remember?
It did not feel inspired this year, and I love Halloween Horror Nights. I love to go. It's such a fun experience. It's a must-do every year, and I still think people should go check it out this year, but I'm curious how other people feel about it, because I just felt like it was uninspired this year. A lot of the scares were the same. You know, they scare you in the same way, where it's like the door opens, there's that sound and the lightning.
With the strobe, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, after you experience that 3 times, it doesn't really work after that. So I feel like they need to change it up a little bit.
I think that would be good. They used this gimmick, which I definitely wasn't a big fan of, specifically in the Chucky maze, like over and over, where he'd be in the bathtub and like the Chucky doll would pop out and then he would like spray water on you. And some of it was like, okay, that was cute. But then you go around a couple more turns and it's like, okay, water's now hitting me in the face. Not cute. Okay, now water's in my mouth. Like definitely not fucking cute.
It was annoying. Yeah, it was definitely annoying. So I think Universal Monsters was probably the best, but it was short, wasn't it?
It was, but I agree with you. I think that was like one of the best ones. And another kind of smaller, I guess, maze as far as like IP. I don't remember the name exactly, but it basically celebrated lore and monsters specifically from South America. Mm-hmm. So you got this like skewed, Abora was in there because there was this basic like bird creature, demon, woman thing, harpy. Like, I don't know exactly what it was, but the imagery was like really, really cool.
Yeah. I think that was like what the Monsters of Latin America is what it was called.
Yes, there you go.
And that was fantastic, actually. I wish that was longer because the monsters were like scary and did things that we weren't necessarily used to. And I thought the animatronics were the best in that maze.
Very unexpected and very cool. Mm-hmm. I think inspired by our visit to Universal and going through the Child's Play maze, Drac and I started talking about Chucky in general. And we've made comments on Chucky, specifically in the 100 Greatest Monster thing.
101 Greatest, yeah.
We kind of went into Child's Play and we realized that we hadn't seen them in so long. So we have decided this week to go on a Child's Play marathon in numerical order. And there are a lot of movies. I think it's like 8 or 9. We wound it back to 1988 with Child's Play the original. We watched 1990's Child's Play 2, 1991's Child's Play 3, and then we started Bride of Chucky last night.
Bride of Chucky is the best one.
Absolutely.
It feels like that's where it found its stride, in my opinion.
I think so, too.
One is very unique. Obviously, it set up a whole new universe and a whole new vibe. But I felt like Bride of Chucky, I was like, this is... the dark humor in this movie is hysterical, and I thought it was great.
I agree. And I think here's how it happened. They came out with Child's Play 1, and it was great. They created like all these new tropes. There was a new horror icon in the making who was like pretty much unstoppable and who basically came back from the brink of death like 10 times at the end till he looked like a melted mass. That was scary too. But then they were like, holy shit, this is so good. Like, let's put out another one and another one. And they did it like really fast, and it just felt kind of soulless and sort of like rinse and repeat. But then 7 years goes by, and I think someone really took the time, Don Mancini and other contributors, that was like, we have something really original here with Child's Play and Chucky. Let's lean into the camp.
Yeah.
Let's lean into the doll factor and like the campiness. This is what people love about Chucky, and it's so successful.
I think so too. I mean, I'm sure, look, the span from when he started writing Child's Play to Bride of Chucky, I mean, that was a long time. So I'm sure as a writer and a content creator, he developed a lot, Don Mancini. And I also believe that that's when Chucky like manifested as like, this is an iconic figure in horror. It has such a great energy to it. So I'm kind of curious if it continues into the next couple. We're going to watch all of them. We're going to watch the remake, and we're going to watch the show. So I'm going to be a master of Chuckiness. We're going to be chuckling all over this podcast.
That's what Drac calls it. She's like, okay, come on in. It's time to watch Chuckles.
I'm curious what people at home, what their favorite Child's Play movie is. So let us know. I'm curious if people agree with us that Bride of Chucky so far is the best. Mm-hmm. One other thing we should talk about Halloween related is our Los Angeles Halloween Ball.
Yes.
So tickets are now on sale for our Los Angeles Halloween Ball. If you haven't seen them, you can look on our social media. The lineup has been announced. We are moving it to a new venue that has tons of rooms, tons of different floors, lots of fun stuff to experience. I think we're going to be able to a little more fully realize the event in this space.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those labyrinth-like club experiences where you could get lost, and the different rooms have like different vibes, and there's a lot to see, and if you won't see everything, and that's kind of part of the magic. The lineup is stellar, too. I mean, Hi will be performing and hosting as per usual. Violet Chachki is one of the headliners, along with Gottmik and Victoria Black. We have a couple of new cast members from the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5 in the form of Fantasia and Jarvis Hammer. Abora will be performing. The House of Avalon will be there in full effect, featuring Gigi Good and Simone. There's actually tons of other stuff going on. It is just not to be missed.
Yeah, if you're anywhere in the area, or actually anywhere in the United States or beyond, you should fly in for this event, and you can get tickets at bit.ly/LA Halloween 2023. So get your tickets while you can, because it is definitely going to sell out. So we also have our Boulet Brothers Halloween house party in Seattle, which I'm very excited about. And who's performing with us there?
Victoria and Abora will also be joining us there after the LA ball. We'll all fly to Seattle. And we've also added Dali and the legendary Miss Sigourney Beaver.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
It's such a good lineup.
And there is obviously huge costume contests at both events. So we definitely encourage you to dress up if you're coming, enter the contest. I think it's like $1,000 for the LA ball, $500 for the Seattle one if you win. So definitely come prepared to compete. We might have you do a little more than just walk the runway. We'll see.
Ooh. And on a final note, something that we've done in the last week or so has announced the cast for season 5. Meet the Monsters is out there. The cast interviews are incoming. And the new batch of super monster wannabes have now been introduced to the world.
Well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we will dig into our Boulet Brothers Dragula season 5 cast reveal and why we chose them.
Don't move.
As a busy mother of monsters to many manly meatheads and humongous Herculean horrors, I often have to scare up many delicious meals with only a moment's notice, and that's why I love HelloFresh. With the convenience of HelloFresh, I can quickly whip up delicious meals that are hearty enough to power even the plumpest phantasms and still have time to make dessert. HelloFresh does all the shopping and meal planning for you, and ingredients arrive at your doorstep pre-portioned and ready to cook, along with pictured step-by-step recipe cards. How easy is that? Oh, and one of my favorite features of HelloFresh is the HelloFresh Market, where you can find this season's limited-time fall flavor lineup. Feast on desserts like apple cider cake with caramel sauce, or please a crowd with appetizers like the barbecue pulled pork nachos. And don't forget the mini pumpkin cheesecake, the perfect finale for an autumn-themed feast. Go to HelloFresh.com/50brothers and use code 50brothers for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50brothers and use code 50brothers for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. All right, welcome back, everyone. And Ian, welcome back to the show.
Opening up my child coffin, I'm back.
We are summoning you from your gaming, and that's gaming with a Y.
Oh, G-A-Y gaming.
Your gaming nerd dimension, which you've been locked in for like weeks now. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I feel like I have been locked in my like Mountain Dew scented basement. Like I feel very much in my like World of Warcraft South Park era.
Oh, that's immediately what I thought of.
Totally.
Carbon in the trash can. Oh my God.
Exactly. That's been me. It's been fabulous. I mean, I mentioned it on Twitter, which I lived that you know, on Twitter you responded like, Ian, everyone already knows you're a nerd, like news at 11. And I'm like, well, for those of you who don't know, like obviously I love horror, but I love video games. She loves to play with a joystick. What can I say?
So basically, for listeners at home that don't know, Ian is now a Twitch.
I am a Twitch. I am a Twitch. I'm a Halloween. I'm a video game. I'm a Twitch, and exactly
Well,
that's
so
me.
tell us and the listeners a little bit about it. Like, what is it? What are you doing? And just,
Yeah, so I have officially started my own Twitch channel, and I am streaming a variety of different games, talking shit, playing with joysticks, and I am getting my Halloween Dracula on all year long. I'm streaming 4 times a week. I kind of just dove into it. I was like, oh, hi, there's never too much to do around this darkened crypt, so why don't I just start this other passion project hobby? And so I'm currently playing a bunch of different horror games all throughout the Halloween season, and yeah, I have my shout out to my demonic little brood out there who are listening.
Oh my gosh, you're the fan club already.
Yes, they're Devogla's demons.
No.
Listen, when you grow up in this house of horrors,
Yes.
branding is very
Yes.
important. Branding.
Yes. Let 'em
okay,
know.
thank you, Swan. Branding
it's no surprise.
Branding
Like,
is
of course.
important. Like, I'm like, hi. When I started doing this, I was like, now there is no, and of course, there's nothing wrong with this. Father's on House of Gucci. There's nothing wrong with just getting in front of your webcam and playing some video games for your friends. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And so I wanted the sound to be right. I wanted the video to be right. I wanted the branding to be on point. I'm like,
You came in hard.
If you ain't but if you're not going to do it all the way, don't do it at all.
Exactly.
She hit
right?
it, so we didn't know what she was doing, and she was putting out these videos. I was like,
What
the
the hell
is she
is this
up
doing?
to? I was like, what is this?
It's been so fun. I mean, hi, as anyone who listens to this podcast may well know, like, all we do around here is talk about horror movies and video games and nerd stuff. Like, hi, like, we're all big old horror nerds. So I was like, let me just get my entire nussy out on Twitch.
She's like, they cut me off after an hour on this podcast, but if you want to continue to hear me talk,
An average
go
stream
onto
is
Twitch.
3 hours. I was
Yes.
gagged. I
3
was gagged.
hours.
Oh I don't think I could do that.
I
Oh my
couldn't
God.
either.
And it's so fun because it's just 3 hours of me just Gagula, gagula, gagula. Y'all want to hear a funny story? Here I am, Scottish accent. Here I am. Here's a weird
my
story.
God.
Tee tee.
Do you drink a lot of Red Bull?
No, but hydration is very important to me, and I do drink out of my official Junior Mints Movie Club tumbler.
What's in there?
Well, I have a still water out of my tumbler, and then I also have my Liquid Death sparkling water on the side.
Beverage
Nice.
goblin. I
She
see.
is.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I do have a coffee, so
Oh
she
my
would be a beverage goblin.
You're competing for Drack's title because Drack is the beverage goblin in our house. And I've also busted out my Junior Mints Movie Club tumbler and started using it pretty much like on a daily basis. I don't drink anything else.
It makes everything taste better.
It doesn't sweat. That's what I like about it. Because
Yeah.
I can't stand when you go, you know, you get an iced coffee, a cold brew, or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like sweat. I hate
it's
that so
gross.
bad. Dump it into my cup, or I get a 10-cent discount if I just hand it to them.
And look at you, saving the environment one cup at a time.
Well, I saved the environment, but I kind of exposed myself because the last time I went through Coffee Hut, they were like, "Is this your cup?" I'm like, "Yes." Where did you get it? I'm like, in the blacked out truck with the black sunglasses. And who do you think it is,
Well,
Sherry?
I mean, hi, Diva. It didn't help that you were in full Dracmorta drag on your way to Knott's with
What
the
did
blind
go?
contacts.
Okay, first of all, that was in the back lot that I was driving because I would never drive on the road like that.
Oh, okay. Well, thank God. Because when I saw, I was like, "Now, Diva,
I
that
would
is
never
a
do
safety
that.
hazard."
No. Israel was supposed to come and pick us up in the back lot and drive us from where we were getting ready to the entrance of the black carpet thing. And she was late as hell.
Fashionably
of course.
late.
So I was like,
I
you know
was
what?
so pissed.
I was like,
I can imagine the fury. Oh
I was
my
like, I'm
God.
not waiting. We're just gonna drive ourselves. And Swan's like that, and I'm like, yes. So we crammed ourselves in the car, and it was not fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But iconic nonetheless.
You know what? I did it. I got us there, and we didn't wreck
Yeah.
that time.
Spooky.
All right. So you're at Twitch. So where can people follow you or watch you?
Yeah, so you can check out the stream. You can join my little demonic brood at twitch.tv/Devogler. That's DEVOGLAER.
Is it cost to watch you, or how does that work?
No, so the streams are free to watch, although I would always appreciate a follow if you are so apt to do so. But yeah, I'm streaming Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays is 6 p.m. PST to 9 p.m. EST. And then on Sunday, I wanted to have something a little brighter and earlier, especially for my ghoulies across the pond. And that one starts at 11 a.m. on the West Coast.
Call that Sunday service. It's church.
Well, I mean, I already do a lot of Sunday service.
Not if you're sitting behind a gaming desk all day.
Hey, you can't see my hands. You don't know what's happening.
All right. Well, everybody go watch Ian and harass him.
Yes.
And, yell at him and yell obscenities at him. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
So let's talk about this episode and what we are dedicating it to, which is the casting special.
Yes. Okay. So everybody is always asking us, like, how do you pick who you cast and all these kind of things. And so since we've revealed the cast of the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 5, I thought it'd be interesting if we did a little casting special. And just kind of went into each of the people we cast and why did we cast them. Now, none of this has any reflection on how they perform in the show or how they do or anything like that. Everything we're saying today is basically up until the point when they got to set. So that's all we're going to talk about. Don't read into it and say, well, they said this about that person, so they must make it to the end. We're smarter than that. We wouldn't give away anything.
So in no particular order except alphabetical, let's begin with Anna.
What the hell?
Galactic.
In no particular order, except a very particular order.
I was like, how could this be fair? You know, we don't want to give the children any clues or little
Yep.
nuggets to like gnaw on. So it's just alphabetical.
Yeah. So little casting secret. We don't see everything. We don't. But, you know, do we have the power to say, hey, there's somebody I have my eye on. Let me shove them in or move their card up to the top. Yes, we can absolutely do that and have in the past. To me, it's about alchemy. We sit down at the wizard's table and we're like, how do we make the best potion? And so sometimes I feel like we know better than the casting people do, and we can pick certain ingredients and move them around if it doesn't feel right. The alchemy is important. So with Anna, we've known Anna for a long time. We've known of Anna
years.
Phylactic for a very long time. Anna Phylactic has performed at Dragula before Dragula was a TV show, back when it was a club, many, many years ago. She's part of the Family Gorgeous, with Cheddar Gorgeous is a part of, and Licorice Black is a part of, and they're very iconic and legendary in Manchester. I mean, to me, they were sort of famous before drag became famous.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, totally. I remember when they started to really come up, and I always thought that Anna was going to be sort of the first to kind of make the push onto like a drag competition franchise. And so, you know, when we had the opportunity to kind of put Anna forward, I was like, oh my God, the Manchester icon is going to come and destroy this competition.
Yeah, and I love that she sort of did the bees with her look.
Yeah.
Because that's very iconic of Manchester. And Cheddar did the same thing when she was on Drag Race UK. I like that kind of family vibe.
A tribute to their home. And Anna's look has always been what attracted me to them as a drag artist. Even back when we booked the entire house of Family Gorgeous at Dragula, Anna was always the most ghoulish, the most sort of like monstrous and theatrical. Like
But also with a poise.
With as far as a personality and performance, absolutely. But the look was always like this ghoulish, monstrous.
She did that Red Riding Hood show that I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And it's odd. Like, when I thought of Cheddar, I would never have guessed Cheddar would be the one of them that ended up on Drag Race UK, because Cheddar to me always seemed very non-binary in their expression of drag. And typically Drag Race tends to put people who are very binary in a certain box. Not always, but like 99% of the time. I mean, like I think Milk maybe is a little outside of that. But not a lot of other people that I can think of. I'm not super familiar with them, but I don't think, right?
No, well, I think especially too, like when I think about Cheddar's heyday prior to being cast, they were basically always naked. And sort of like androgynous.
It was the naked unicorn look.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they were all on another show too in the UK. It's like Drag 911. I forget what it was, but it's basically the concept of We're Here, but a UK version. And so the three of them would travel around in a bus and go and like dress people up in drag and all that. So they had their own level of fame before drag really was televised.
I do think it's worth pointing out, however, and I'm going to be shady, that show came out years before We're Here. And I think that the people that created We're Here, and I think We're Here is a great show, but they got their idea from the girls in the UK.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly. One thing that I love about Anna that I learned through casting is that Anna does these, they're called pantos, or like the pantomime. Anna is a theater queen. She's a performer, darling. And so she'll do these drag pantos every holiday season. And so it's so funny to think about the way that Anna presents and looks as like a drag character, but then also to do, hello, here we are doing, a Christmas story or, a Christmas Carol. I'm like, that's an iconic thing to do.
It's very campy and very theatrical.
Yes! Very Manchester of you.
So I'm excited for people to see what Anna brings. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to our next competitor, which is Blackberry.
Blackberry.
So Blackberry is from Houston, not from Austin, and you'll get that joke when I'm someone now.
I love her. I love my Austin queens.
Blackberry is from Houston.
Oh, yes.
So Blackberry to me is sort of the epitome of like a Texas working girl.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right. Blackberry is very experienced. Blackberry has regular gigs. And when you think of Houston, you think of Blackberry, I think, right?
In our experience, she is one of the only Houston queens that really left an impression on me. Because I remember the first time we were there, we were performing with like an ensemble group. Blackberry was there. It's funny how life can do that to you, where these people can be introduced to you a million years ago, and then they come back around and you have a relationship in a completely different, unforeseen kind of way. And that's what's happened with Blackberry, because I remember them, they welcomed us. I felt very warm toward Blackberry even back then. Yeah, it was interesting to get a taste of her then, and now look, she's on the show.
A taste of
The Blackberry.
The Blackberry juice.
So I think what Blackberry brings to the table is a lot of experience and sort of that regular, consistent practice where she's been able to really hone
the skills.
Yeah.
And it's the polish. It's the level of
yeah.
polish. Because I remember looking through the looks on her Instagram and social media and stuff, and you can really I will pinch. I'm going to pinch and zoom, and you can really look at the nails, the shoes.
She's done.
Every piece of the look has been thought about, and Blackberry's hands are on it. It's really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I really love about Blackberry is I think that she brings something to the Boulet Brothers Dragula that I appreciate, which is she is a nerd. She loves comic books. She loves video games. She loves anime. And, I think obviously horror is absolutely cemented as, hi, it is one of the tenets of Dragula, but there is a real appreciation for other facets of alternative culture, and Blackberry absolutely is a fucking nerd, and I love her for it.
Well, that's right. We celebrate all that, like gaming and fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons. It's just sort of all that sort of alternative dragon nerd culture. I mean, if you look at like Bitch Pudding, she's very video game centric, not so much horror, And I think that Blackberry is in that camp. It's important to kind of show that representation and that everyone's on even footing in that regard.
I agree.
Next up, we have Miss Cynthia Doll. And all I can think of when I think of Cynthia is, there's the door, bitch.
All I can think of when I think of Cynthia, now having filmed with her and like she's on the show, is how much I fucking love Cynthia Doll.
Baby.
Like you never know what someone is going to do once the cameras start rolling. We talk about the alchemy. We talk about the wizard's table and all the ingredients that would kind of swirl together. May I just say this right here?
Here?
I'm patting us all on the back because
Yay!
our skills at casting are unmatched.
Unmatched.
I
I
mean,
think it's
the
because
show
we care.
every season it just ups.
We all pay attention and care. I think that's what it is, because we're not just like removed and we're like, let casting handle everything.
Yeah.
They do it all. They pick. They'll tell you who's interesting or whatever. We're like, no, you got the people that are around and know to be involved.
100%. Backing up to the Cynthia piece, she was someone that we felt would be great on the cast alchemically, but we don't know the personality until they arrive. And baby, the personality is on 10.
Not what I expected. I didn't know what to expect. Like, I don't know. For some reason, I kind of got a vibe from her that she was going to be maybe like snarkier.
Well, I think like a wild card, sort of. I think we all had, I think Cynthia's going to come in like this, or maybe she is going to be a little more snipey. And then she arrived and I think defied all of our expectations in the best way.
Yeah, I can't wait. She's fierce, and then meet our monsters, and she has that snap and everything.
Yeah.
But you don't get to see her personality yet. And that to me is like where Cynthia shines.
Well, you also don't get to see her acting chops.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so become familiar with There's the Door, bitch, because you're going to hear it a lot.
Get ready.
Yeah. Let's move on to the legendary Fantasia Royale Gaga Darling.
Legend.
So Fantasia is legendary. Fantasia is a legendary performer. We actually have referenced Fantasia a few times on previous seasons, and it didn't end up making the cut. But on Titans, for example, when Coco was doing the wrestling challenge with the big breastplate, we literally said during Judgment, oh, you're paying homage to Fantasia Royale Gaga. And we all kind of had, So to me, I feel like we've been very aware of her for a long time. We've worked with her before, and I am very excited for people to see what she brings to the show.
Me too. I think the biggest impact that she made when we first met was her ability to impact the crowd. Like, the girl knows how to put on a show. The girl knows how to command the energy, command the dollars. She's an incredible performer and someone who has power in just their presence. And not everyone can say that, But when Fantasia walks into the room, like, you can feel the magnetic power.
Yeah. Well, when her breasts walk into the room and then she appears, a couple minutes later too. But when we talk about the working queens, I think Fantasia is 100% that type of performer. I mean, you could not look at a roster of characters and say, oh my gosh, this is someone who they know the drag circuit, they've done all the clubs, they traveled, they've kind of done it all, and now this is sort of the final frontier to conquer.
She's
iconic.
She's like a character like Amanda Lepore, like someone that's sort of famous on their own outside of these shows and these things, that has a name for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that she wants to come and challenge herself on a platform like this.
Oh, I love it. It's very respectable.
I've always said that, because you'll hear people, I'm not going to name names, but sort of the legendary, quote legendary, sometimes legendary means she just didn't become famous, nor did you go away, but
sometimes
whatever.
legendary just means old.
You're there.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say.
You're there. And so, but sometimes, you'll hear them kind of talk and blah, 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 kind of bitter, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, if you're so great, just come on a show like this and show us. Show the world that you're great. Because I don't like that sort of vibe, like me, right? I'd do a show like this in a minute. I don't care. I'd be like, why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah.
If I'm good at what I do and I think I would do well, all I'm going to get is more exposure and more success from it. It's a pageant. To me, it's a pageant. You enter a pageant, it doesn't have to define who you are. see how you
Oh,
do.
I see it as a showcase. It's
Yeah.
an opportunity to share your art with a huge audience.
Yeah,
and I think smart people understand that.
I think
Yeah.
that's maybe what it is. I think it's about having good business know-how and ego. Ego is such a big part of it too.
Yeah.
And I think some people are like, they're like a big fish in a small pond, and they're afraid that could be taken away. But I'm like, well, it can also just disappear.
Yeah.
a certain bitch does come to mind.
Oh, there's a couple. It's funny, because obviously it is a pageant, but I look at it more as like, it's like a weird like battle system. It's like, literally a clash of titans. And so when I think about Fantasia, it's like, okay, I know where I stand. Here's my power level. I'm going to come in and I'm going to enter the arena and I'm going to see where my power level compares to all these other sort of up and coming kind of monsters. And I fucking salute her for it. It's
Me
cool.
too.
Well, the audience reacted so well to her too. Like I think
love
it's
that.
what stands out in the comments for me. On once we announced the cast and stuff, it's just like people were just capital G gagged that she would be on the show
And
Yeah.
looking as good as she does.
I know.
Going back to what I was saying, though, it's like I think some people think, well, I'm a legendary this. I'm not going to bow down and let another queen judge me. But I'm like, that's not what it is. We created a game. You're going to come and play a game with it. It's game night. Are you going to win or are you going to
Ooh.
lose? It doesn't matter. You can leave. You can forget what I said. Who am I? You're just in my arena playing this game. But that's all it is. And I
Yeah.
feel like we have mutual respect for a lot of performers. Some see that, some don't. But I'd jump at the opportunity to do it if I was in a different space.
Well, let's move on to our next performer who also got a lot of attention when Meet the Monsters
Yes.
got announced. Our first of two drag kings on the cast, Jarvis Hammer.
Jarvis, yes.
What a fully formed character. And I think people sense that from just Meet Our Monsters alone. You get it. You get the whole
100%.
thing. Now that's talent, to be
Yeah.
able to show exactly who you are, your vibe and everything without ever uttering a word.
The physicality is so loud. It's like
Yeah.
louder than words. It's so good.
I think, a lot of times people will say, we want more drag kings or we want more this or that. I always say, yes, it's important to have representation. It's more important to have representation that actually stands a chance at the
Yes.
game, right? Because
Yes.
there's people that they'll put forward, they'll be like, put forward Slop Mustache 3. I'm like, no, why? Why? Just to say that they're on the show and then send them home on episode 1 and humiliate them?
I put in my audition as Slop Mustache 3, and I thought, like, who knows? There's no need to call me out like that, Drac. Damn, I'm sorry.
Well, look, I know you only started your Twitch channel because we didn't cast you, but you can.
Wow.
You know what? Revenge for Slop Mustache. Justice for Slop Mustache, okay?
So I always feel that about representation. It's like I want there to be more. I would love to have more drag kings, but there have to be drag kings that fit this genre of drag and that are good on TV and that don't have whatever else going on that makes them disqualified from being on the show.
Yeah.
Totally. I remember when we met Jarvis for the first time, because of course, we'd seen Jarvis online, but then we met them on the season 4 tour. And immediately, that sense of what we were talking about, like this fully formed character, immediately, I'm like, oh, if we want to say like archetypes, I'm like, I can see you as almost like a Disasterina type character. Like,
You took the words right out of my mouth. Because not every drag artist approaches their art like that. And Disasterina and Abora, I would say, and
totally.
Jarvis come from a place where it's like they are these characters all the time. When I look like this and you interact with me, this is what you're going to get. And it's consistent. It's really like explored and kind of defined. And it's so cool that someone is so
Fabulous.
immersed in their creation.
Their makeup is so unique too. That's another thing about drag kings. I've always said that drag kings off the start have a little bit of a disadvantage because the art of drag, when you're sort of transforming from male presenting to female, you have all this glamour, you have makeup and furs and all these things. And some people's interpretation, some people who are female presenting, their interpretation of male drag is very down. It's very like t-shirts and a baseball cap, which, isn't going to stand up on stage next to some big glamour Dolly Parton looking thing. But I think the way that Jarvis approaches it, it's so theatrical and it's so big and it's so absolutely competing with these other sorts of drag. It makes him the perfect sort of candidate to come on to Dragula.
yeah, it's cool too to have a character who is truly cemented as I am a ghost. Everything I do is spectral and ghostly, and you see that through their drag. And I think it's cool to be like, stamped. And there's nothing wrong with this, but I am not just a drag artist who shapeshifts and, I'm at the bar and here I am in my, 5, 6, 7, 8, like, hi, here to drag me. To have someone who says, hi, I am a literal ghost. Everything I do is a fucking ghost. I'm like, cool, I'm here at the seance. Let's go.
We love it.
It's the makeup for me. It's the makeup and
Yeah.
hair, that ghostly hue kind of through everything. And the way that Jarvis paints, it's very like structured. Like there's a lot of planar development in the makeup application. And it is fucking impressive.
It's true.
Pop that planar pussy.
So let's move on to the next competitor. And this competitor is certainly a wild card. Part of what caught my eye, and I was completely removed from the process at this point, is last summer, Zavaleta was online and was like, this person is the most annoying person in Brooklyn. And I was like, ding.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? The most annoying person? Who could that possibly be?
I wonder.
And so I looked, of course, and then I went over to the casting stuff, and I'm like, so do you all know who this person is? Yes, this person happened to apply. Interesting. Why don't we ding them on up?
Yes.
And we're talking about none other than JK.
the clown menace of Brooklyn.
Yes. So
Yes.
JK is a very different type of drag artist that I think has a very obvious place on Dragula because from the origins of Dragula, it's always celebrated that punk spirit, that kind of raw spirit. And I think JK comes from that place. I think of like, Pinche and that kind of vibe. Like, and I love that vibe, and it absolutely has a place on Dragula. And I'm excited to have someone like that back on again.
Me too. Yeah, because there's a lot of aspects to it, and I think JK kind of represents a lot of the best of what a Brooklyn drag artist, I think, kind of stereotypically offers, which is like a creative perspective, kind of like a DIY. I can do anything. If I can imagine it, I'll just make it and put this show on, and I'm going to convey my ideas. Even if I'm limited, and because a lot of the stages in New York are like super tight, like
God,
they're the size of a
tiny.
stamp. Like I'm going to convey my idea, so they don't let those barriers like hold them back. And it's like really punk and irreverent. It's super sexually charged. It's in your face. This is what JK brought to the table.
It's queer nightlife kind of related. When you think of like the sexuality of it too, that has a place in adult clubs and bars and spaces, but it doesn't always translate to TV because, TV is like for all ages and everything. So you don't see a lot of those sorts of performers make it onto shows like this, but I think they absolutely have a place in Dragula.
100%.
It's like that classic, drag is all about taking $5 and making it look like $500. And so, they have that DIY nature to them. And also, I'm sorry, everyone, that makeup in The Meet Our Monsters was fucking stamped.
That's what really grabbed my attention about JK is the makeup. The makeup is
very
really
talented.
interesting. Kind of reminds me of Abora a little bit in that it has painterly qualities. It's not, it doesn't fit in the lines of what normally you see a face painted in drag.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what he brings to the competition. And also, now I will spoil this personality-wise. JK is a firecracker, and this is JK, Mary Cherry, Zavaleta, and Madeline. Oh, just remember their personalities on previous seasons of the show.
These are our New York Dragula girls.
These are our Brooklyn monsters.
I'm just going to cast everyone from New York from now on.
Oh my
Because
God.
I love all of them. Everyone I just said to me, love.
A Brooklyn versus the Underworld season would be a nightmare.
Oh,
Woo!
Damn.
Everyone's dead at the end.
Oh my God.
All right, so let's move on to our fashion icon, Neo Hulu X.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Neo is very interesting. Doesn't have a ton of live performance experience. Now, they mentioned that in the EW article, and she thought it was cute to poke at them, but I'm like, I know that she's done other things, but not like performing live in a typical drag space, right?
Yeah. So that's not where Neo's strength lies, but Neo's strength lies in her visual aesthetic. It's hardcore glam. It's super vamped. You can tell that this person has a perspective to share. And from someone who's like an immigrant, a transplant from China who's only been in the States for like a couple years, and is a trans woman, this is a very unique perspective that absolutely has a place on Dragula.
Totally. And I think that it's cool to see a Dragula competitor who is fashion focused. That is their lane. They're like, I don't have a ton of experience performing, but I am fashion. I'm fashion. What I love about the way that they do fashion is I feel like there's this sort of, maybe it's a little bit of a Gen Z kind of sensibility of I am trying to look as unfuckable as possible. Like, I'm trying to look scary. I am trying to look like the wig all the way like half back on the head. I'm like, you look amazing.
It's true.
It's like a walking work of art. And it's
Very
very
that.
startling. I think that she's coming into the competition, maybe one of the youngest, but also most established artists that we've had on the show before. She's already coming in with some. She's been in music videos already. She has a fashion line. You know, she's very accomplished already. So it'll be interesting to see how those skills, because, you know, you have these very big creative skills, lack of live performance and drag space ability, and how that will resonate on the show.
Absolutely, because it's not just a competition, it's a performance competition.
It's a performance competition.
You know? So
Speaking of someone that does have a lot of live performance experiences, our next competitor, which is Onyx on Dicks.
Yes.
And Onyx has tons of like circus skills, like fire breathing, stilt walking, you know, rat traps on the mouth, all this kind of stuff.
literally.
Yeah. And so to me, that's very much the spirit of Dragula. That, you know, again, like very punk, performing in leather bars and stuff, doing extreme, sort of circus-like physical challenges and performances. Very up our alley.
No, absolutely. And I know that they have a big following in Philadelphia, their home city, where they're kind of like reign over the alternative scene there. And I think another aspect of Onyx that I felt was really attractive, and it goes right to the name Onyx on Dicks, is that there's like this underlying sexuality. You can see that in the Meet the Monsters video too, where she's presenting as like this sort of like super slutty demonic creature. And I say all of those words with reverence and joy.
Totally. I remember when I saw the final cut of the Meet Our Monsters trailer for the first time, where, you know, Onyx does her thing. She looks fabulous. You know, I think I saw a lot of love for the look that they did. But then the final shot is sort of on the ground, almost kind of like ass up, of like very sexualized. And it's like, oh my God, stamp it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, this sort of demonic showgirl character is a character that we haven't seen on the show before.
Yeah.
And has a lot of experience. So it'll be interesting to see how they bring that to these challenges this year. And the challenges are different than they were in previous seasons. Even the idea of how you present your floor show is very different. Than
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
So people are going to see that.
Lots of curveballs for S5.
Speaking of a curveball for S5, that almost was a curveball for S4 is our next competitor, which is Orgotic.
Yeah.
And I'll spill a little tea here and say that Orgotic was originally supposed to be on season 4 of the Boulet Brothers Dragula. Think about that. Think about how Orgotic, and because of the pandemic and the visa process, it got completely screwed up and it wasn't possible.
It's interesting to think of just how that season panned out and just the response that Orgotic has received and just how their drag is presented and is received. I mean, to think how they would have approached season 4's challenges. Very interesting.
It's also cool to think about how grateful Orgotic was that we actually kept to our word and said, you know what, if it doesn't work out for this season, there's always season 5. And like a couple of years goes by because we didn't know it then, but we did Titans and then we did the Halfway to Halloween special. And then, okay, it's time for 5. So all that work we did, it's like, hi, we still love you. We have always kind of, as soon as we discovered Orgotic, we're like, oh my God, I love this artist. I love this vision. This is so unusual and more people need to see it. So,
It's so Boulet Brothers Dragula on brand.
Oh
to
my
me.
God, yeah.
But can you imagine, you know, everything happens for a reason. I think this is the cast that Orgotic belongs on, like 100%.
True, me too.
But imagine them versus Dali, you know?
very interesting. Very interesting.
You know, not similar maybe in how they present, not really in their artistic approach, but, you know, they both got Club Kid boots on. So.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Anna.
There's that.
And again, we do not hate all Club Kid boots. It's a generic Club Kid boot that was over manufactured that everybody saw and everybody in the goth club had, and we just hate it because we just saw them too much. That's really all it is.
I feel like there needs to be like an official Dracamorta or Boulet Brothers. Actually, wait, there needs to be like a Drac Club Kid boot and a Swan Club Kid boot. And
There
we'll
you go.
stamp it and be like, these are the only ones y'all are allowed to wear forever. Done.
It's one kind. I mean, I don't know. Anyway,
It's those patchwork black demoniums.
those ones are bad.
Exactly.
The matte,
I mean,
the
you can just
matte
get them at the
patchwork.
mall, and anyone could wear them, and it's not cool.
Well, they got over manufactured because they were everywhere, and every time you would go to like even secondhand stores, that's the one you saw. You know, the stupid square, and they they'd be in matte or they'd be in pleather. And it was, oh God, I hated it.
I think it was that they were shocking enough to be a little out there, but also mainstream enough to be carried in as a Hot Topic denizen, to be carried in Hot Topic, where it was like, okay, here is the death sentence of actually being cool. Like, this is it.
And we're rocking those like black rock, those big boots that had all the accoutrements and everything on them. And those were like cool club kid boots, in my opinion. They weren't just generic ones. And so that almost felt like this cheap, low-level knockoff one, and I think that's why we hated them.
Yeah.
It's true. They were.
Well, I want to back it up to Orgotic, too, because I have one more
right.
comment about their drag before we move on. And something that I love because it's a unique kind of take on drag as an art form, which kind of historically is very gender-driven, but Orgotic takes the gender out of everything. Like, he takes the humanity out of half the looks. Like, this is a creature, which I fucking love.
Me too.
Yeah, same. I just love this cast. I do. Like, I feel like it's so cool. Like we just said, talking about Onyx, who is this demonic showgirl kind of character, very sex driven. And then to have a character right after that who is sexless. And, and when sex is a part of it, sex almost just in a scary way. Like in like a Hellraiser dimension. It's just fabulous.
And then if we move on to our next competitor, who is a Los Angelino Satana, we're back to hypersexualized.
A sex doll.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super sexy, flaunting their femininity and just like in the vampiest way possible.
We have 3 trans competitors this year, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
We have
Fantasia,
Satana,
and
Neo.
Neo. Yeah, it's interesting. And Satana, to me, I love Satana's energy because she's almost has this like young, bratty, like new school of drag that's very... It's just not the like couch pads and the ass. And you know what I mean?
No, totally.
It's not all that. And I love it.
Yeah.
It's like embracing her femininity, but not mocking it.
I love that term, bratty kind of drag. And it is. I mean, she literally feels like a Bratz doll. You know, it's like there is sort of a Gen Z and maybe older millennial kind of like view of it where, I don't know, she's hot.
As she said, I came to look hot, stir the pot, and win.
Yes. Oh my God.
She went ahead and did her like wing like a design and didn't fill it in. You're
Yeah.
like, okay.
I'm like,
It's very
okay,
that.
makeup queen.
It's
Okay,
very
girl.
that.
It is.
Okay, diva.
Yes.
She looked great in the Meet Our Monsters promo too.
Yeah, she did. I'm so happy to see her get love online.
Me too. And it's not just the look, it's how she moves. Like you can tell there's
She's
like
a good performer.
There's a good stage presence there, like a confidence level that is needed if you're going to compete on this level and win.
Well, I mean, we were talking about people like Anna and Fantasia who have been performing for a very long time. And then, you know, you have new people like Neo and Satana. And Satana's been performing for a couple years. She's not like brand new.
Yeah.
But when you compare her to someone like Anna, there's a huge difference in experience. And so I think that could be an advantage and a disadvantage.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you, vocab word, just to extrapolate on that further, Dracmorda, you know, it's like, if you are sort of set in your ways and you can't break out of that,
right,
death sentence. But if you're so new or you're still learning and you're unwilling to evolve fast enough, also a death sentence.
I look at like someone like Fantasia and it's like ageless to me. You know what I mean? Like if you just stay in your craft and you're doing your thing, to me it doesn't matter what your age really is. And age looks different on different people, doesn't it?
Get in your bag.
Get in your bag, suffocate yourself, and come on, Dragula. So Satana's fierce. I'm excited for people to see what she's capable of. And then brings us to our last competitor, which is our other drag king of the season, which is Throb Zombie.
Yes.
Love the name.
Oh my God, it's so good.
It's hard to find an iconic name nowadays, right? In a pun name like that, it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, it's also hard, you know, even though I am a workbook queen, sometimes there are things that surprise me. Like, it took me up until maybe like 2 years ago to realize that Landon Sider's name was a pun. I was like,
oh my God.
Oh, I know. He had already won the show like for like years. I was like, oh, Landon Sider. And so, you know, I think like there are some pun names that are great, and Throb Zombie, it goes with his drag. Like Throb is hot.
It perfectly marries the drag.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it the best. Of course, the name is memorable and it's like the pun is impacting, and everybody knows Rob Zombie, but Throb takes monsters and mixes them and mashes them with like sex.
He's a monster fucker.
And it is Throb Zombie. It is good.
Yeah. It's really interesting, really different for a drag king, like has a very unique perspective where they come from and a skill set. I don't want to spoil too much about them because I want people to learn about them, but a very unique skill set
Yeah.
that comes together to produce a performer unlike one I've seen before.
I agree. And we will see masculine presenting drag like we would expect from a drag king. We'll see feminine presented drag like we would not expect from a air quotes drag king. Like this is a multifaceted artist who isn't scared to blend and bend the gender in their artwork.
People are willing to accept that when it's the other way around, right? I think they're more willing to accept it when you have people like Dolly who sort of present when you're okay with it. Or I feel like Coco in the past has done, like on Titans, she did that Poseidon look that was more masculine
Yeah.
presenting. And I feel like people are less open to accepting that from Throb initially, like because drag kings just aren't that
Known for that.
known
yeah.
yet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like drag kings are still trying to prove what is a drag king and what are their sort of limitations and things. But I love that Throb does not let that limit their expression.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that the viewers and the fans love this cast as much as we do. And I think if I could put a piece of advice out there, anyone listening should go and subscribe to our YouTube channel right now, because the cast interviews are going to get released and you will be able to deep dive in all 11 cast members and who they are and what they're about and where they're from in their own voices and in their own words. Check it out. And I'm curious to see if you feel the same way about them that we do.
And get your scorecards ready. Because I'm curious. Like, I wonder what people think as far as how people are going to do based off Meet Our Monsters. And then even after the cast interviews, they may make some adjustments to their bingo cards.
Oh my gosh. Power ranking.
Interesting.
Okay, we're going to take another quick break, and when we return, we will be diving into our bag of listener mail and answering all of your burning questions.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It's time to answer your listener questions. And remember, if you have a burning question you would like us to answer here on air, please email your questions along with your name and where you are writing from to creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com. Ian, will you do the honors?
Oh, it's been a minute, but of course it would be my pleasure. Sean writes, hello, my name is Sean from Philly, and I wanted to know, now that the cast of Season 5 was revealed, I was curious to whether or not Organic was the artist you were referring to that would be the perfect tapeworm. It's the vibe I got from them after the Meet Our Monsters.
Was Organic giving tapeworm, darling?
The answer to that question is yes.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding.
Douglas from DC asks, the ultimate iconic horror landmark, the Exorcist stairs, are here in DC. Since you two are huge horror icons, ooh, Douglas, thank you for that. I would like to cordially invite you to come to the stairs next time you're in DC, which are an official DC landmark.
Well, Douglas, I'll have you know that I've been to the Exorcist stairs many, many, many times. And I think both of you have too, right?
We were
Yeah, we've all
there
been
the
there.
last time we were in DC.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
of the S4 tour.
Oh my God. Holy God. That is wild.
We literally, when you guys remember, we walked there
Yeah.
one night and went right to the stairs.
Yeah,
cool.
I know that place very well. I know Georgetown very well. Georgetown back in the day was a very punk rock part of DC, and there was a lot of punk shops there. That was the only place back in the day that you could really get like Manic Panic hair dye or spikes or things to sort of like trick out your punk rock clothing and accoutrements. Yeah, there's Commander Salamander, and I forget the other place.
Oh my God,
There was a
Commander
couple there.
Salamander.
Commander Salamander was a place where you went to get fashion, darling.
Luke in North Carolina writes, hello, Drakmorda the Dominator and the sensational Swanthula. I've been listening to the first few episodes of Creatures of the Night, and several times you've mentioned the overlap between Boulet Brothers Dragula fans and wrestling fans, and you've incorporated this into several challenges on the show, such as on Season 1 and Titans. I was wondering if you've ever considered bringing your characters to the squared circle and acting as managers for a one-off Halloween wrestling event. There are several. To me, wrestling managers are the peak of character performance since they can make or break an otherwise uninteresting wrestler, and I think that that's a niche the two of you exist in spectacularly.
Bitch, I love this idea. We've talked about this before, because even going back when Poppy was a musical guest, and Poppy's music is used in the WWE, I think, kind of extensively, and well-known lady wrestlers are inboxing us like, I want to be a guest judge on the next season when you do the Ugly Ladies of Wrestling. I was like, drag? do we need to be like some of those shady wrestling managers that show up on the side of the ring and do fucked up shit to everybody?
Well, I haven't seen it for a long time, but I definitely know that back in the day when I think of Glow, the managers were sort of epic. Same thing with like, was like WWF, right?
Yeah.
Like there were definitely manager characters that I thought exactly
stood out.
we would fit into that world.
Oh, 100%.
I think on Glow, there was one that had like a zombie girl. He managed her and he would like lure her out and make her attack everyone. It was so awesome. So I would do it, but it would have to be like the right show.
Brad from Boston asks, I had the pleasure of attending one of your Halloween night events with Trixie and Katya a few years ago. I think it was 2019, and it was epic. I've been wondering, how/why did you choose Boston to spend the unholiest night of the year? And will you be coming back this year?
Well, we didn't choose Boston. Boston chose us. So there's a promoter in Boston that puts the Halloween Dragathon on. And for some reason, he always likes to say it's our party, and he calls it the Boulet Brothers Dragathon. It is not the Boulet Brothers Dragathon. I do not pick the artist. I don't know why it's my party and I don't keep the money, but it is. And that's just the way it is.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it's true, right?
No, I think it is true. But you know what? This particular promoter is kind of like a wonderful person.
I love him.
And I think he does a lot of good work for the community and stuff. So it's like, look, if our name adds to the success of this thing, I would love to see it become a tradition. And it did. Like, we've been in Boston, I think the last 4 years, I think, for Halloween.
Yeah.
Maybe with the exception of the pandemic, because no one was allowed to do anything during that hell year or two. Unfortunately, because of like some personal stuff, the Boston party is not going to happen this year. I think there may still be an event, but it's going to be much smaller due to like some personal issues. But, you know, we're already talking about coming back full force next Halloween.
Yeah,
for
I
Boston.
wasn't like throwing shade at him or anything. I wouldn't let someone get away with that if but it's just funny how it happened. And everyone's like, it's your party. Why did you hire so-and-so? I'm like, I didn't.
Yeah.
But we do get to pick the Dragula people that we take with us.
We
so,
do.
Yeah.
And I'm happy and kind of excited to be like, oh, shit, we're not going to have Boston. But now we have Seattle. So I think it's going to be very cool.
Yeah.
Chris writes, would y'all ever consider showing the full performances the competitors do on the floor shows without the edits?
No, I would not consider that. That's not the style of the show. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't know of any show that would just be like, here's raw footage. Like, it would look terrible, and you have to make cuts and everything. It wouldn't make any sense.
It's interesting because I feel like people, the royal people, the general people, have like a very strange like misunderstanding of how like television and editing in general works. Because I'm like, hi, if you're looking at other reality competitions or other drag shows and you think that that is not edited within an inch of its life, darling, too, it's just a different style of editing.
Absolutely. I will say you see a lot more this year of them walking naturally and presenting their looks. It's not as heavily edited in terms of the cuts, and that's just a stylistic thing. But if you just put raw footage out there, it would look so stupid and feel so awkward. Like, it's not what you think it is. It's not like a fashion show. You have to move cameras around and stuff to get the angles. It would be so stupid and weird looking.
Yeah, it's true. I'm double downing on that too. I would never release the full floor shows. People cry about that, and I've seen the tears. I've heard the yelps. They're like, "Oh, we want to see the whole."
I think they think it's like watching a drag show or something, but it's not like that.
No, it's really not. It's making television, and there's a lot of illusion that goes
laborious.
into it. It's very laborious. There's 1,000 moving pieces.
Some idiot said they were like, they did. They were like, I saw somewhere someone goes, they added the music later for Meet Our Monsters. No, we did not. That music was blasting the whole time they were walking, so you don't know what you're talking about as usual.
They added the music afterwards. I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, there wasn't mics picking up the music because nobody was talking, but the music was playing, and it's, hi. How would they even move to it if it wasn't playing? Why do I care? I don't even know why I'm answering these stupid questions.
But we love them. Keep saying them in.
No, I love the questions, but it's that little stuff that's like, I don't know. I want people to know because the stuff they ask for this stuff all the time, like, it's not what you think it is.
Yeah. And I just want to say this too. Everyone's entitled to their opinion on how they think the floor shows should look and be edited. But I can assure you this, you don't know better than we do. It's a show of our creation. It's how we choose to challenge artists and present them. So if you're not a fan of that, then maybe you're just not a fan of the show.
Right.
Gag 'em.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night. Remember to send us your listener questions to creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com. Go watch Ian on Twitch. In the meantime, make sure you buy tickets for the Halloween Ball here in Los Angeles and for the Halloween House Party in Seattle. And stay tuned because remember, the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 5 is going to premiere on October 31st on Shudder and AMC+. We'll see you soon, uglies.
Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to Creatures of the Night.
And buy all our merch. We have new merch on the website. Bye.
The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted by the Boulet Brothers with their co-host and producer, Ian DeVogler. Engineered and mixed by Carlos Bueno with music by Neuron Spectre.